Cosplay. The art of expressing oneself by dressing up as a fictional character, be it anime, manga, comic books, video games, the list goes on. It sounds very simple, but in actuality, it's as complicated as college level calculus. Some do it for fun, some do it for a living, some do it for both. But the bottom line is, cosplay is more than a hobby, and it is more than a career. It's a culture. Not that kind of culture? Well, maybe it is, but not exactly. The point is, it's something that can never be broken no matter how hard people try. And anime cosplay is the de facto leader of this culture, as there is never a moment when you don't see someone, be it online or in real life, cosplaying an anime character. And that's one of the reasons why I enjoyed the hit anime from the winter season, My Dress Up Darling, hence this video. So, what's good, YouTube world? Killua Morales is back at it again with another anime review, and today we're looking at the aforementioned My Dress Up Darling. Let's hop into it. So the story follows Wakana Gojo, a young teenage boy who doesn't have the best social skills, but more than makes up for it with his love for Hina dolls. When he's not at school, he's learning how to produce these Hina dolls under the tutelage of his grandfather, and this was a normal day until the sewing machine in his home breaks. Feeling a little impatient, he continues his training by using the sewing machine at his school's home economics room, and just when he thought that he was alone, the door opens and in comes the most popular girl in his class, the hyperactive gal and walking meme, Marin Kitagawa. Noticing his talent for sewing, she reveals that she's into not only anime but also cosplay, but due to the fact that she doesn't have basic knowledge about sewing, she asks Wakana to help with her cosplay and showing it to the world. Wakana was hesitant at first, but he eventually accepts the task, thus beginning the partnership and friendship between two polar opposites. Now when you think about the story overall, it's nothing new. It's basically a story of when two opposites attract. When you think about it that way, you may feel like it's just a disappointment, but thankfully, it's how it was written that makes it a nice breath of fresh air. There were times when I thought that this shared a lot of similarities with another rom-com called My Little Monster, as the series also centers around two opposites attracting, with the main difference being that the roles are reversed. But before I talk about the characters, I need to talk about the story. Now personally, I knew that cosplay can be very complicated, but I didn't expect it to be this complicated. It's very informative on how much detail is put into the cosplay, even though you get the same amount from your basic tailor. Well, one thing's for sure, this anime will be referenced for when I do cosplay in the future, as despite it being complicated, they made it very simple to understand. You see the amount of effort Wakana puts into Marin's cosplays that it's pretty inspiring, and seeing the payoff makes it all the more satisfying. Of course, the story wouldn't be as good as it is without the characters, and the main two really brought out not only the comedy, but the heart of the story. Wakana is that one guy that everybody in grade school ignores. He's the type that usually keeps to himself because he feels that he has nothing in common with those around him. You can't help but feel sorry for him as you want him to succeed and make friends. And despite all that, you can understand him because everybody has something about themselves that they're afraid to share with others. He's truly a character you can relate to, and to see him work so hard not only through making Marin's cosplay outfits, but also school makes him a character to root for. Then there's the aforementioned walking meme, Marin Kitagawa. This hyperactive gal knows how to lighten up the mood, and may or may not be ashamed of being seen in her underwear. She's the type of girl that anyone and everyone gets along with. She never discriminates and never judges people based on what they like or what they do. It's a shame that she doesn't get a lot of character development, and it's evident that this series was focused mostly on Wakana's development, and there was so much potential for her to develop outside of her falling in love with Wakana. Don't get me wrong, it's a nice change of pace to see the girl fall for the guy while the latter is essentially trying to process his feelings, but in this case, it felt completely rushed. If there was any hint that she was developing feelings for Wakana as time progresses, then it would have felt a little more natural, but this is not the case at all. Just as the story progresses, it's plain as day that Wakana is developing feelings for Marin. But in Marin's case, one statement was all it took for her mind to go, looking for sun rays, needing them good days, fly me away, away, you're my holiday. And the worst part is, she's not even trying to hide her feelings. It's a little annoying that Wakana goes Ichika and doesn't even notice it, but I guess that's one of the few running gags in the show, and I gotta admit, it is funny at times. It's a good thing that they're not the sole focus of the show, as it does focus sometimes on Wakana's grandfather, as we see his perspective on how Wakana is growing not only as a Hina doll maker, but as a normal boy as well. He shows not only his love for his grandson, but also his guidance, as he doesn't hesitate to point out even the smallest flaw. And after meeting Marin, he doesn't hesitate to treat her as his own family after realizing that she doesn't have the healthiest diet. He's the type of person that takes his career very seriously but doesn't forget that he's a grandfather. Obviously, the standout of the side characters were the Inui sisters, starting with the older sister Sajuna, also known as Juju. This lolly tsundere, who looks too young for her age, has what most people call a superiority complex, as she explains that when she saw how Marin looked in her Shizuku-tan cosplay, it pissed her off at not only how amazing she looked, but also how detailed her cosplay was as well. Thankfully, she shows that she's more dere than Tsun, as she helps Wakana further his progress of making outfits, showing that she's not as self-centered and uptight as she comes off as. Then there's her younger sister, the Amazonian Dandere Shinju. Why do I call her an Amazonian Dandere? Well, it's because she's the exact opposite of her sister, as not only does she have an inferiority complex leading to her shy personality, but also, and most importantly, she looks way too well endowed for her age. Like seriously, what the hell kind of growth spurt does she have? But joking aside, if there's one thing I can say about the both of them, is that these two should stay far away from EDP. Well, in all honesty, every girl in this anime should stay away from EDP. Sorry about that. Was not expecting him to show up on my channel. But hey, it felt good kicking his ass. Hey, Anya gets it. All in all, the story was simple and easy to follow, with the theme of cosplay really hitting home, and because of this, be prepared because you will see me cosplay in the future. Of course, the characters brought out the story's themes with how relatable and sympathetic they are. The art was just breathtaking. And when I say that, I mean Keanu Reeves, because not only does his anime look amazing, but just like Keanu Reeves, it's memeable. It doesn't surprise me, as this was produced by Cloverworks, the studio behind Bunny Girl Senpai, The Promised Neverland, Tokyo 24th Ward, and Spy Family. Now, despite being 4 years old, Cloverworks is showing that even they can compete with the likes of Madhouse, Production IG, and even Studio Shaft. But the downside is that most of the animation was focused on the character designs, as there was much more detail on the design of the characters. Marin especially. Let's face it, they obviously wanted her to be seen as the poster girl with how she looks so much like a supermodel, hence why I say the animation is memeable. It's because of Marin's designs from her normal wear to her cosplay. You can take a screenshot of her and make a meme out of it. Like this, and this, and this, and this, and this. Oh, and of course this. You get the point. Now, even though the main focus of the animation was Marin's design and the cosplays, it doesn't mean that the rest of the art and animation dropped in quality. For example, Wakana's character design is no different than your typical teenage boy in a slice of life anime, but he more than makes up for it when he's tailoring. The amount of detail put into when he's making cosplays really shows that there's more to it than simply cutting fabric and knitting. Of course, the best example of this is when he's working on the Shizuku-tan cosplay. The measurements, the knitting, him cutting himself with a pin, falling sick, it would have been as simple as just showing the simple shots of him working, but Cloverworks took it a step further by showing the motion, truly bringing out the realism of being a tailor. Then there's the background. You don't really pay much attention to it since most of the focus is on the characters, and that there are times when it's blurred out. But when it's not, you see that the background is very well detailed. From the trees swaying into the wind to the water flowing on the sand, you can't help but be in awe of what you see, and the lighting makes sure you're not missing out on anything. The sound department was definitely a standout as well. The background music was so immersive that every scene from Wakana and Marin going to the beach to Wakana tailoring felt very important to the story. You can't help but feel the emotion of each scene just from the music alone, and of course when the scene wants you to laugh, best believe the music will back it up every time. Of course, I can't talk about the music without talking about the opening and ending themes. The opening theme is about what you'd expect from an anime like this, but the ending theme was the highlight with how catchy and cute it sounds. And as amazing as the soundtrack is, the sound department was nothing without the voice acting. And I'm amazed that most of the cast are relatively new to the voice acting world, with the exception of Atsushi Ono voicing the grandfather and Atsumi Tanizaki voicing Sajuna. Fortunately, these voice actors performed beautifully, especially Shoei Isijie and Hina Suguta voicing Wakana and Marin respectively. These two definitely did their homework, especially Hina, since she started in the voice acting world this year. She's got a lot of potential and I look forward to what she does in the future. Now, don't get me wrong, I believe that the Japanese dub was amazing, but I'm just gonna be honest with you all. The English dub was a million times better. It may sound a little biased since most of the cast, with the exception of Paul Date and Risa May, were veterans to the acting world, but their performances were extraordinary. Paul Date voicing his first ever role as Wakana was arguably one of the best performances of the year so far. The way he voiced him felt like he's been in Wakana's shoes. He's definitely got a bright future ahead, and I think he needs more attention than he has right now. Then there's Risa Mae voicing Sajina. Despite voice acting for 2 years with her most notable role as Kokomi from Genshin Impact, she did an amazing job voicing Sajina, and I look forward to what she does in the future as well. But obviously, the standout performance was Amanda Lee voicing Marin. I'm amazed on how much energy she had when taking on this role, but when I think back to her role as Shia from Arifueta, it makes perfect sense. Voicing characters with similar personalities would be second nature to her, but I think her voicing of Marin was better due to how realistic she made her sound. Of course, I can't talk about voice acting without bringing up the voice of the grandfather and Shinju. Our Bruce Elliott voicing the grandfather is about what you'd expect from a guy who can play a wise old man like it's nothing. And Jad Saxton voicing Shinju was quite the surprise, as you usually don't see her playing shy characters. But seeing her recent performance as Olivia from Trapped in a Dating Sim makes you realize that she's well versed in any character. Overall, the art and animation were beautifully drawn, and the sound department backed up the art and animation, showing that despite the flaws the story and the characters had, these made sure the flaws didn't break the anime. So overall, what is there to say about My Dress Up Darling? This is one of the strongest anime to come out this year. It's not a perfect anime, as the story is something that everybody has seen before, with the main difference being how the story was written. The characters were very three-dimensional, despite the fact that Marin could have used more character development, and that her feelings for Wakana should have been built up slowly instead of quickly falling head over heels. The animation and sound made the anime look and sound amazing, and that's always a surprise when a studio like Cloverworks shows that they're not to be underestimated for any reason. So with that in mind, I can definitely say that My Dress Up Darling is a binge watcher. It's a must watch for those who enjoy slice of life and of course cosplay. Well, that's it for this video. Do you agree with my rating? What were your thoughts on My Dress Up Darling? Comment below to give me your thoughts. Also, as I've stated in this video, be prepared to see me cosplay in the future, and of course, be prepared to see future reviews like this. I'm hitting the ground running and I'm not planning to stop anytime soon. So for now, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, just like, comment, subscribe, and be sure to tap the bell icon so you're never missing out on a future video. But until then, thanks for watching. I'm leaving in Godspeed. Peace!